So Fortnite released the patch notes for content update 4.3, and a lot of it had some interesting patches, some ideas that they're going through, and just some overall updates to the game that I feel like everyone should know going forward. So I'm going to be talking about them in this video. Now, the biggest takeaway from these patches was the overall nerf that they applied to shotguns. Now, shotguns have been very powerful in the game, but the developers seem to feel that they've been a little too powerful, and as a result, they've made a couple of changes to them. The first major change that they made to the shotguns was the headshot multiplier. Now, the headshot multiplier is applied when you hit a headshot with the weapon. It takes the base damage and it multiplies it by whatever the multiplier is. Recently, it's been 2.5 for the pump shotgun and the tactical shotgun, but they feel as if this is a little too overpowered, so they reduced it down to just 2. So now the damage is only double when you hit a headshot. This may not seem like a huge change overall, but it actually is in the grand scheme of things, because with the 2.5 multiplier, that's what made the pump shotgun so lethal when it did a headshot. That's what made its damage sometimes exceed 200, which is the normal amount of health you can even possibly achieve in the game. So now that it's brought down to 2, you can't even get past 200 damage with a headshot. So one pumping someone to the head no longer exists in the game. Now you can still one pump someone to the head, but if they have full health and full shield, now that'll make a huge impact, because the pump shotgun now can't kill someone with just one shot to the head anymore. It'll take 2 shots or 3 shots depending on your aim. And so this is going to be very huge. This is a big nerf that they've applied to the game. The second big change that they made to the shotguns is actually to the base damage for the pump shotguns itself. Now, the pump shotguns, the green and the blue, used to do 90 damage and 95 damage respectively, and that was their base damage. However, they have now reduced that damage by 10 for each shotgun. So now the green pump shotgun will only do 80 base damage, and the blue pump shotgun will only do 85 base damage. So that's even further decreasing the viability of pumps in the game. Now, don't get me wrong, the pumps are still very powerful, but they're not going to be the one-shot killing machines that they used to be. The last thing that these patch notes mentioned is that the developers are actually looking into the inconsistency of the damage that all shotguns in general have. You know how shotguns are known in this game to, one day hit someone for 227 damage to the head, and the next shot is like 7 damage. It's absurd. The developers are aware of this. I mean, it's pretty hard for them not to be, but in the patch notes they actually address it and say that they're actually looking into improving the consistency of the shotguns going into the future. So I believe that's a huge positive looking forward into the future of the game. Now, it's going to be very hard to tell how these nerfs are going to affect how shotguns are used throughout the game. For example, are you going to still see double shotgun used very much? Are you going to see a lot of pump shotgun, tac submachine gun gameplay? Are you going to see tac shotguns more used throughout the game? There are a lot of combinations of how you use shotguns in the game, and I feel like with this nerf there might be not necessarily a huge change to how players play with certain shotguns, but just maybe a little change going into the future. Me personally, I might start looking into using a pump shotgun / purple tac submachine gun more often than normal, just because I know that sometimes the pump shotgun is not going to kill them in one shot, and maybe having a secondary fast firing, fast to switch to weapon that can just spray someone down, get a lot of damage onto them very quick. Having that in my back pocket might be a little more viable than maybe double pumping. I'm not sure that it's going to be the move as of yet. I'm still looking into it, but it's just something to look into moving forward. And I advise anyone else who double pumps or uses 2 shotguns just to weigh your options, look at what else is available, try out different tactics, because they're still looking to making changes to the shotguns. So don't rely too much on the double pump. Use the double pump for now, but they'll still make changes in the future, so just be aware of that moving forward. Now, the second huge change that they addressed in the patch notes, which I personally love because I'm a very competitive player, is that they're going to be vaulting the jetpack finally on June 11th. When the jetpack got introduced, it received a lot of negative feedback. feedback. It was greatly in part to the fact that it destroyed the learning curve that this game had in place. Along with the obvious of having to have gun skill in this game, a big part of being a good player, what separates a good player from a great player, is how well you can build. Build battling is an essential part to this game and usually separates the average players from the good players to the great players to the excellent players. Now imagine this, you get into a build battle with someone and you're obviously winning and they get frustrated and they just start flying to the top of your build. It takes no skill to fly to the top of someone's build and just jetpack them. That's the problem competitive players had. That's why the jetpack was so hated in the community, because build battling became obsolete in a sense. You didn't need to have skills to outbuild someone, you just had to fly to the top of their base. So with all this negative feedback coming in about the jetpack and why it should be taken out to the game, the developers actually listened to us and they decided that it was time to take the jetpack out of the game. And so they decided that on Monday was the final date that the jetpack was going to be in the game. They're going to take it out at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So they're warning players to get your last chance to play with the jetpack as it's going back into the vault where it belongs. Now there was a little side note at the end of the patch note that stated that they were looking at improving the jetpack and adding some fixes to it, some updates to it, and that they might introduce it into the future. My only worry about this statement is that the very concept of jetpacks is what ruined building. The fact that you can just fly to the top of someone's build. So unless they have some miracle workers that actually make the jetpack competitive going into the future, I don't see how reintroducing it in the future is going to be positive on the game, especially in the competitive scene. The next big change that's been made concerns the traps. Now the traps used to do 75 damage before this content update came out. Now the damage has been buffed, it's been doubled. The traps now do 150 damage upon impact. Now I believe that this change is going to be very huge, especially in the beginning of the game and early game, when players don't have that much health to go off of. You know, they're going to be just dropping. They'll only have 100. They might find some minis. They might get to 150, or might just find a big shield, gets 150. It's very rare that players in early game will have full health and full shield. So to have something so powerful, especially in high traffic areas such as tilted towers or retail row, placing a trap in a very high traffic area can guarantee you some very, very high kills. So those were some of the biggest changes that came about in this patch. Now there are some smaller updates, some not so noticeable ones that came out as well. And the first one concerns the use of explosives and explosive ammo and how explosives affect late game. Now explosive weapons late game are super powerful. Having an RPG with like say 50 rockets or a grenade launcher to just spam at builds and at structures can really play a huge part in your success in late game. To almost to the point where the developers didn't see that being so powerful, and it wasn't their intention. And so they wanted to make some changes to how easy it is to find explosive ammo, not to the actual explosive weapons itself, but to the ammo and how much you can get going into late game. So to address this issue moving forward, they made two changes to how to find explosive ammo. They first took them out of loot llamas in general. You used to find, I believe, 20 of them in a loot llama, 20 explosive ammo in a loot llama, and now you won't find any in any loot llama. And the second change is that they decreased the overall availability of explosive ammo in the game in half. They decreased it by 50%. While we're on the topic of explosives, they actually made a buff to C4s. The C4s already got a buff in their explosive damage radius, but now they got another one. They are now went from 400 to a 600 blast radius, so now they're even more lethal to structures. I tested them out a while ago, and with just one C4, I almost cleared up the whole first floor of the roofless building in tilted towers, which says a lot. Another small change that they made to the game is the availability of floor loot materials. Floor loot materials are you just finding, the sturdy stacks of whatever material you may find on the floor in a building or in a house or whatever the case may be. And they made some changes to that. They first decreased the chance of finding it by 32%. Not only that, they decreased the actual amount of floor loot that you get by another 33%. What that means is that one, you're now gonna have less of a chance of finding floor loot, and not only that, it goes from having 30 in a stack to 20. Now I don't know if it's gonna have a huge change. In the games I've played, I haven't really noticed that change much. The only thing I could think of is that it might affect early game building, early game build outs, just because there's not as much materials. You might not see as much early game build outs, but you really see them in the beginning as it is, so I don't know if it's a huge change to consider. The next change concerns damage drop off to structures. Now there used to be damage drop off if you shoot a structure with a weapon, but the developers decided to take that out completely for 4 types of weapons. They took it out for the rifle, the SMG, the pistols, and the LMGs. So they're going to be a little more powerful when trying to take down structures now, with no damage fall off when you're shooting them from far places. The next change involves the minigun and light ammo. First off, the light ammo stack sizes have been increased from 12 to 18. So now instead of finding stacks of 12 light bullets, you'll find stacks of 18. As far as the minigun, they actually increased the accuracy of it by 10%. But it's just a small margin. They also increased the light ammo spawn that you get with the minigun from 60 to 90. So now you'll start off with 90 bullets in minigun if you say open it from a chest, for example, or open it from a supply drop. The next change they also made was the damage that the minigun makes to structures. They increased it from 25 to 30. So now the minigun is a little bit more destructive to structures. So we'll see how that also plays into the game moving on. We'll see if people start using the minigun more. Maybe, I don't think so, but we'll see that moving forward. The last big change that this content update brings as far as Battle Royale is to their Teams of 20 version 2 limited time mode. Now the Storm Circle, when this first came out, used to do 10 damage per tick, which was completely absurd, especially if you were a team that spawned on one corner of the map, but the circle happened to be on the other side of the map. If you had to run that far, sometimes you won't be able to make it. You would die by the storm. You would see whole teams of 20 just drop before the first circle even finishes coming in. And so they made a change to that. So from now on, Storm Circle 1 will do 1 damage per tick instead of 10. Storm Circle 2 will do 2 damage per tick. Storm Circle 3 will do 4, and Storm Circle 4 will be 8. So it's a lot more gradual, gives everyone on the map a better chance of surviving from the storm. And that's all for this update. Now there is a lot to digest. You're gonna have to play a couple games to get used to the new update, see if you're gonna end up changing your strategy or how you play the game, see whether if you're not going to, but that's up to you. Try out the game, try out the updates, check for all the small details, see if it affects anything, and see how you play the game moving forward. I plan on making more of these videos going on into the future, some content update videos, maybe some gameplay analytics, analyzing different games, analyzing different competitive games, looking over strategies, anything like that, anything to put the analytical skills that I picked up in college to use. Also my public speaking skills, getting in habit of constantly using it and improving on it. So I'll probably be making a lot of these videos in the future. So if you have any feedback, let me know. And yeah.